Next is Senator Pimentel, but is he... Wala pa. Senator Angara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang hapon po sa ating kasamaan, Senator Majority Leader Joel, Senator Grace, at sa lahat ng bisita ngayon. Mr. Chairman, natackle na ng committee ni Senator Bato yung peace and order. And again, I'd like to add my voice to dun sa mga nagko-congratulate sa PNP kasi parang tumahimik eh. So congratulations, mukhang talagang nag-work yung crackdown ninyo. So yung peace and order natackle na dun sa committee on public order. Tapos yung arguments on the morality, the social effects, napag-usapan na rin nila Senator Joel at saka ni Senator Grace. So I'd like to tackle it from a different angle, the money laundering angle, Mr. Chairman. No? There is a AMLAC, Anti-Money Laundering Council, risk assessment of the casino sector in the Philippines. Meron po silang ginawang report noong 2020. So I don't know if this covers I'll give a copy to you, Mr. Chair. This is mismo, so mismong gobyerno ang nag-analyze nito. And yung lumalabas dito, mahina ang regulation natin. Not necessarily of the casinos or the online gaming or POGO operators, pero yung mga service providers, parang yun ang weak link na lumalabas. If I may read certain portions of it, Mr. Chairman, no? Suspicious activities primarily relate to the transactions of SPs, service providers of internet-based casinos. Several transactions involve individuals with no clear connections with SPs or service providers. Internet-based casinos and their SPs may be using money service business accounts for Forex transactions. Highly substantial Forex transactions appear in the transactions of service providers. Ito po, Mr. Chairman, ang mabigat dito sa report. Some of the service providers have a nexus with previously identified entities alleged to be beneficiaries of fraud and drug-related money. So yung conclusion po nung study in 2020 na ginawa ng AMLAC or Anti-Money Laundering Council, generally, POGOs pose a lesser threat compared to their SPs. So ang sabi niya, ang bigger threat are the service providers. PAGCOR and AMLAC supervise POGOs which are subject to the AML, Anti-Money Laundering CFT, covered transaction framework. In contrast, PAGCOR does not technically license SPs but merely accredits SPs to provide technical and operational services to POGOs in relation to gaming and gambling operations. So that's the conclusion number one. Pangalawa, there is a low level of beneficial ownership identification, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. So if we look nga, pag tinignan nga natin yung datos na galing sa PAGCOR, they gave us a list of makapal to, there are 340 POGOs, service providers, SCBPOs involved in the industry, which I suppose they regulate. Pero kung titingnan mo, walang beneficial owner, Mr. Chairman. No? Walang pangalan ng individual. Panay korporasyon lang. Pagka may illegal na ginawa ito, pwede ba nating habulin yung ano? Because corporations can close up, you can reopen and start a new corporation. Sa Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Chairman, you're required now, which is a new requirement from a few years ago, ilalagay mo na yung beneficial ownership. Ibig sabihin, pag merong incorporator or stockholder na holding that in trust for a beneficial owner. Ibig sabihin, hawak na yun for you sa totoo. Abogado man lang siya or ahente siya. Hawak niya para sa totoong may-ari. Required siya under oath to certify, under pain of perjury. So why don't we ask all of these guys? Kasi nakikita ko, maganda yung nangyayari ngayon eh. Sumisikip po or gumaganda yung regulasyon sa hanay ng pulis. Siguro sa hanay ng peace and order, public order officials po natin, Mr. Chairman. Pero sa hanay po ng financial regulators natin, ng gambling regulators, are we doing our best? Or is there room for improvement? Yun ang tingin ko. And I think with respect to PAGCOR, with respect to the AMLAC, there's a lot we can do based and the information mismo comes from AMLAC, from this report of theirs. So again, there is a low level of beneficial ownership identified. Why don't we require them to state who is the real owner of these companies? No, there's a high number of unregulated or unsupervised SPs or service providers. As SPs are not within the realm of AML CFT supervision, they are prone to abuse and exploitation by criminal organizations. In 2019 alone, local authorities closed down around 200 internet-based casinos and service providers that illegally serviced online gaming operations. In the same year, the local government seized the operations of one of the largest SPs for an internet-based casino. So yun po, ang recommendation po nila tatlo, increase the level of AML, CFT effectiveness of compliance and supervision. Number 2, enhance coordination and enforcement actions. 3, increase the level of AML, CFT awareness, risk assessment, and outreach. So, ang hingin ko, Mr. Chair, yung police nag-deliver na ho, sa AMLAC at saka sa PAGCOR, whatever our decision is here, whatever the President's decision is, whether mabubuhay o mamamatay itong industriya natin, kailangan natin maghigpit sa tingin ko. Kailangan natin maghigpit. At one of these is to itong covered transactions, suspicious transactions, mismong AMLAC na nagsabi, may link na to drug personalities, to illegal operations. Let's ask for action. How can they, kasi covered na yan ng latest amendment to the AMLAC law, anti-money laundering. So hingin na natin na higpitan naman nila yung ating regulation, di ba? From PAGCOR's point of view, huwag naman itong bibigyan yung dokumento sa amin na panay korporasyon lamang. Sino talaga yung mga tao na behind this, di ba? Sino ba yan? Sino nga habulin namin kapag may illegal na nangyari dito? Just to, hingin ko na lang po yun, Mr. Chair, because we're looking for long-term actions here. There's definitely a need for stronger regulation. My next questions I'd like to address to my friend David Lichu, who's my schoolmate from Xavier, and he's the acknowledged expert here in the real estate industry. Sir, thank you for your report. You mentioned a 567,000 loss in employment. But the figures, what's the basis for those figures, I'm wondering? And what types of jobs are these?
Thank you, Senator Angara. So that's all based on the footprint that they occupy today, that they're paying for today. And the premise there is that they wouldn't be paying for them if they're not populating them. And based also on the traffic that we see in these buildings that are still currently occupied. There's also a very significant indirect employment that is not found in the buildings or in the premises. So these are
So it's direct and indirect, yung 500.
direct and indirect, and they're predominantly in the service sector.
Okay. Kasi ang data ng PAGCOR and ng DOLE, actually the DOLE gave us data which came from PAGCOR, is that there are 225,400 individuals, both foreign and Filipinos, working in POGOs and related establishments. So I suppose direct employment lang ho yun.
I would assume so.
Yeah, but you're saying there's another 300 plus thousand who are employed in indirect employment.
Yes, and there's also the possibility that there's still a gap between the the registered and unregistered people.
Yeah. Do you agree with the DOF's assessment that there is a reputational risk in allowing POGOs to operate in the country?
I don't really, I can't comment on that competently, sir.
Well, I was thinking, since I know you deal with a lot of multinationals, you go abroad. How about the reputational risk in drastically reversing policy? Meaning you allowed it one day and the next day you wake up and you say, well, I want to shut it down. Is there a risk there?
Definitely, the risk would be quite significant. We've seen it in the first time that we changed policies in the early 2020 when we imposed a new set of taxes on the POGO sector. that was quite dramatic and is the primary cause of the decline of the POGO sector in the Philippines.
I'm just saying that because I've been in public office since 2004, Mr. Chairman. And the issue then, and I think in my first or second term, was yung reputation of the Philippines was severely damaged, especially in Europe, when we abandoned the Fraport. Do you remember that? The airport, no? So, and then what followed was the abandonment of the North Rail project, and then also the contract with the Belgian, I think, the Belgian, although many of these contracts were controversial, the dredging, yes. Many were known to be controversial because of the alleged or the purported graft and corruption, no? Pero whether we like it or not, tinamaan tayo ng mga episodes na yon. So I think we should be conscious about, when we make a decision, it has to be well considered, it has to be sober, and considering all aspects, no? So definitely maganda itong pagdinig ninyo, Mr. Chairman, at nailalabas niyo po yung lahat ng aspeto. So yun lang po. Can we have stronger regulation of the sector, especially from PAGCOR and from AMLAC? Because nakita niyo na po yung mga butas at kayo ang eksperto dyan eh. So pag hindi niyo tinatakpan po yung mga butas, mahirapan ho tayo. So I think yun lang po ang sasabihin ko for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Angara. Senator Pimentel, is he still in the building or baba siya? Wala na. So, I'd like to continue with the other resource person. So